How's it going, crypto community? Welcome back to the Martian Report, and this is part 2 of the interview with Brian Moynihan, the CEO of Bank of America, where he's discussing the future of banking, and we are going through his talk, and I'm providing insight into how his words that aren't directly saying blockchain, XRP, or Ripple are actually talking about blockchain, XRP, and Ripple, right? So, without any further ado, if you haven't watched, also real quick, if you haven't watched my part 1, please go watch that first. Come back and watch this. So let's jump right back into it.
There's been a lot of talk about disrupting the payment process. We know that retail payments, for instance, are expensive. You use a credit card and the merchant gets 97% and the rest goes through a lot of intermediaries. Do you think that there's blockchain, Bitcoin adaptations that will reduce those costs? That's a big profit center, obviously, for banks. But giving that money back to retailers, on the other hand, can lead to bigger discounts, et cetera. Where's that going to go? Will the whole retail payments process get disrupted?
It's all the above. In other words, so what really goes on today, Bank of America's consumers through the end of May, actually through the first 10 days of June, for year to date, have moved $1.3 trillion in money. Checks written, cash out the ATMs, cash over the tow line, debit and credit cards, Zelle, wires, other ACH, et cetera. $1.3 trillion, so it's not a small number.
Right.
That is up 5.5% last year to show you that consumers are still spending. But importantly, 53% of that by volume today is already digitized. It's already digitally moved, and that doesn't include sticking your card in a machine. So the business has moved digitally, and it will continue to move that way. What then happens is then to the other side is sort of what's the institutional side of receiving that, which is the merchant's question or other types of payment systems. And we are driving on that hard to keep reducing that cost. And believe me, the toughest customers in the world are after you to do that. I mean, the big retailers, the big, not only food retailers or big, general purpose retailers, everybody's after you to kind of drive down the medical payments are more made by card. So we continue to reduce that. And so we have more, blockchain patents, I think, than anybody else does now. It's just figuring out where the value added actually changes something and actually enhances the capabilities.
So let's expand real quick what he's touching on, because he's talking about a lot of stuff right now. Hopefully I can actually remember all of it. So the biggest thing I want to touch on is the big dollar value you just threw out there, right? Talking about what Bank of America and its affiliated organizations move in a year. One bank, and they are a Ripple partner. 1 trillion, 1.3 trillion. It's a lot of money. He says it's a lot of money. You know it's a lot of money, right? It's a lot of money. And it's money that's moving. It's moving money. It's money that's changing hands, right? I got a lot of crap in a video that I did a price prediction on because people were like, you don't know what annual or AUM means as far as how much a institution is moving. How much money is an institution moving per year? I think I understand it because I listen to people like Brian who tell me how it works, and they explain these things. Right? When people come at me, I'm being like really snide right now because a lot of people will come at me for what I say. Don't come at me. Go at people like Brian here, CEO of Bank of America, for telling it to me. And then that makes me say, oh, somebody who's been doing this his whole life, gray-haired, expert, well-renowned, super respected amongst all financial individuals, really wealthy people, trust him with $1.3 trillion, said it. Not me. I'm just parroting them. And that's what I do. I parrot rich people. Most of the things you hear from me that a lot of people are like, wow, that was really smart. It's not my words. You think it's smart because you're listening to me say something that I listened to a really smart person say. And I'm just sharing it with you. I have a really good memory that holds on to things like that. I just don't hold on to names. Who says a quote, And sometimes I paraphrase because if I only hear a quote once, then it doesn't really stick. Once I hear it a second time, that's when it's usually like locked in forever, right? But off topic, point is, Brian here is saying, hey, we move $1.3 trillion, and our customers, I think it was 50-something% they're already moving their funds digitally. So it's not really that much to assume, or that much of a transition to just move over to the blockchain. As he said, Bank of America has the most blockchain patents, or not, I think he said the most actually, but I don't know about that figure yet. Sometimes people will say that they have the most, and they are saying that within a certain line of context, right? But the idea is that Bank of America, that moves $1.3 trillion, they're hot for blockchain. Brian just told you straight up, right? He dropped the big B word for us even. So let's jump right back into it. Again, I just wanted to rehash everything that was said, put in a little bit of different framing, and also explain for some people out there that are criticizing me for my price predictions. Hey, don't criticize me. Don't shoot the messenger. Go shoot the person that's saying that that's how much they have under management and that's how much they move a year, right?
And where we've seen it add the most value potentially are cross-border activity with a lot of data and a lot of money and trying to figure that out. And then small balance payments cross-border too at the other end. And those ideas are all out there and people are wrestling on the ground. But this is not, there's not like no activity going on today. It's a huge amount of what goes on every day, not only for us, for the rest of the industry. And so if you take something like Zelle, which a colleague from EWS, Zelle, will be out here a little later, I think, and she'll tell about it. But basically last year, if you take the Zelle payments at Bank of America, it was $40-odd billion, $44 billion in payments. To give you a sense, we are the largest sort of card coming out of wallets, Google Pay, Apple Pay, Samsung Pay. That total was $4 billion last year. So 10 factor already on Zelle, and Zelle's growing at a faster rate. So it's growing at 100% a year, basically, Zelle transactions are. So you're atomizing money, you're making it more available, just like the ATM did when you could go in and get 20s instead of 100s because you didn't want to stand in line just to get 20s, and suddenly 20s became the norm going out of the machine, and $40 was a lot, and you could go back. And this has all changed the way money works, but there's both attacks on both sides, and driving down the cost is a preeminent thing. And we've been driving that cost down hard because we want a cashless society. It costs us $5 billion for checks and cash to move around our company.
You want a cashless society.
We are driving towards a faster, but we have more to gain than anybody in a sense from a pure operating cost, and so we're driving it, and the cost will come down, and everything's happening, and the costs are already very low. It's very efficient, very little fraud when you actually look at the volumes going through. They seem like big numbers. That's because the U.S. economy is bigger than anybody else's economy by a lot. The U.S. consumer's economy is bigger than China's economy. So of course, a little bit times a lot. People say there's this much loss to fraud. You're saying it's so low compared to the rest of the world, but we're driving that down too.
Have you ever?
And like he just said, it's already happening, right? Zelle, as he pointed out, is basically doubling its value transferred through it every year, right? Not just that, like he pointed out, the banks have the most to gain from this transformation. Hey, are you running a bank right now and you're listening to some rando on the internet break down Brian Moynihan's interview here? I don't think so. You're the consumer. Those bankers, they were probably out in there in that panel or out there in the stage listening to this firsthand, and they're like, Bank of America's saying this, huh? The CEO of Bank of America's coming out with this kind of forward-thinking platform saying that the future's already here. We're already moving towards a cashless society, and anybody that doesn't in the banking sector move with this change, you're only hurting your own bottom line because we have the most to gain from it. Whatever we gain, we get to decide how much of that gains we pass back to our customer. And guess what? They're going to pass back just enough to squeeze out anybody that doesn't move over to this system. That's how business works. Banks are businesses. They're just businesses that only, work in the business of money. That's why they have the most of it. They don't care about your Apple Watch or whatever the latest device is, right? Unless that device is something that's going to enable them to send and receive money cheaper and faster so that they can therefore take a profit from utilizing said device or technology, right? Whew. I'm so glad that MG10 sent me this because there's a lot to digest here, and it is I can understand for some people out there, this might be kind of confusing how this all relates to XRP. So hopefully I've been doing a good job of elaborating that for you with these little pauses. But again, rambled enough already. We still have a fair bit left in this interview to get through, so let's get right back into it.
Ever bought a Bitcoin? Have you ever invested in a cryptocurrency, Brian?
No, I haven't.
No? Is that a permanent no?
I haven't. No.
You haven't so far, right?
Yeah.
Now, Brian,
Ha 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 ha. Why'd he laugh? Oh, because he said he doesn't invest in a Bitcoin yet, but he didn't say that he's not going to, right? He said, I haven't yet. Haven't yet. Just not yet. That means he's just waiting for the time to invest in the right coin, in the right project. We all know that project because we all know in this XRP community that, as I said in the first video, Bank of America, they're a known Ripple partner. So if they're going to hold anybody's digital asset first, it's going to be the one associated with Ripple. But that's my opinion.
we know that you took the move of raising the minimum wage at the bank. Can you go into that? Because I think you raised it to $15 first, and now you're going to 20 over the next 2 years.
In 2017, we raised it to $15. That was largely because we were at $14.30 at the time with our normal increases, and we just said, you know what, let's move it. That was in 17. Then just last month, we went to $17, and we've already committed to go to $20. Our belief is, we have to share success with our teammates. We have to be the best place to work, the types of work we need, and to attract the talent. We have basically now a $17 minimum wage. We have full benefits for about $150 a month, family coverage and health care plan for people who are starting off. We have a 401k. When you add it all together, the effective rate is not 17, it's actually $30 an hour for a starting person.
Including the benefits.
Including the benefits, and we're very proud of that, and we're happy, but it's really driven by our need to have the best people out there to run our company.
Right. I know you have a lot of branches serving folks of low income and low income neighborhoods, and those, I think over time, you've said they're really not profitable. Are they subsidized by other parts of the bank, or what is your sense of social responsibility there, Brian?
Yeah, so we have 1,500 branches plus in majority minority neighborhoods, which is about 30-odd% of our branch system. That branch network alone is bigger than everybody but the top 5 banks. Just that 1,500 compared to everybody else, it comes in around 6th or 7th or something like that. So it's a core part of what we do. We build a community bank branding within that structure to drive a different the set of services that are really driven by the market. But one of the things we're also proud of is we announced in the Pathways program, we're going to hire 10,000 people from the neighborhoods represented by that branch system. And we're 5,700 as of last month through that. And so we're hiring people from the neighborhood, the communities to work with us and put them in our training programs and our development programs, and it's working, but it's part of who we are and what we do. And so the claim usually comes up the other way, oh, you've closed a lot of branches and you must have closed more than. It's been the same percentage in LMI or LMI neighborhoods or majority minority neighborhoods, depending on who's asking the question, really consistently over time, when we went from 6,100 branches to 4,300 branches. But it's just the nature of them continues to change like the rest of our business.
But are those branches profitable, unprofitable, break even? Do we know?
We have the best returning consumer business in the business, so it's in there somewhere.
Overall, okay.
Note how he worded that. He didn't outright come out and say, oh yeah, our physical branches are profitable. He's like, ours are in the top as far as how well we're doing. Yeah. AKA, if you didn't catch the subtlety, physical branch offices are not profitable. They're a detriment. For their detriment for the same reasons he just postulated there for you, that they're raising their starting wages for employees at their banks from 17 to 20 here soon, and it's already effectively $30 an hour when you tack on the benefits. People are expensive to hire. Do you know what's not expensive to hire? An AI. Blockchain. Blockchain just runs for, a nominal fee for every transaction. No human needs, just a server that runs your node, that allows you to be a voting participant on that network. Welcome to the future. All right, let's finish this up. Again, I wanted to make this a two-parter because it's only 20 minutes, so kind of rushing through it. But.
So Brian, how does it feel to, after you bought the company, before you became CEO, Bank of America bought Countrywide, when you came in, you were facing tens of billions of dollars in mortgage losses. The stock was doing poorly. How does it feel now? Because you're making $30 billion a year. A lot of people wanted you out then. Now no one wants you to go, right? So
right.
How was that emotionally just to go through that transition? Did you ever have any doubts you were going to make it? There were even questions about whether Bank of America was going to survive, right, in the early days?
That was among the most disciplined discussion I've ever heard. We had 150 billion or so of equity, and people saying you're insolvent. It was amazingly irresponsible for A, the person to say it, and B, to let somebody say it. But leave that aside. We had a great team, and the team did a great job. And the point is, the old statement, never let a crisis go to waste. We were working hard to modify millions of mortgages and handle that business well, and handle it fair, fast, and get that done, and do all the work and go through all the work. Underneath that, we are investing tremendously. So from that day till today, we went from 5 million mobile users to 27.6. We went from, probably 12, 15 million digital users, meaning desktops and stuff, to 37 million now. And then on the institutional side and on the Merrill side, and all the ATMs are redone, so they're accessible by phone and all this stuff. And so we just drove that investment, and then simplified the company, and then drove the investment out the other side. And we learned from it what we should do and not do, and how we should run the company, the mistakes other companies made that we had to clean up, and it cost a lot of energy and time. But the good news is, with the talent, the team, and the good energy and talent they brought to the task, we were able to make the progress. And do we feel good about it? Yeah, but the words we use now, that I use with our team, are nice start. This is just if we take any solace in what happened yesterday, we're not going to be ready for tomorrow. So it's just a nice start.
Now, I think at the bottom of the market, practically, Warren Buffett gave you a call and said, how would you feel if I bought some preferred stock? You remember that call, Brian, and
right.
Kind of lift that gave you? Or?
Oh, it gave us a lift because one of the most savvy investors in the world put $5 billion in the company when other people were debating it. Interesting enough, last year he bought another 200 million shares at market, so he now has 9% position. So he went out in the market and bought a bunch last year. But he's been a great supporter of the company, and he sees the value, and it was really helpful at the time because we didn't need the capital, and he said that, and I said that it wasn't that there was mathematical need. It was more of an emotional need. You needed somebody to say, this company really has something. And from that day forward, he's done well, but a shareholder who bought the same day did as well as he did. It's just you had to have the courage to do it.
Okay, why don't we open it up to some questions?
Yeah, that goes to XRP, right? Everybody's talking about how terrible XRP is. Oh, it's a stable coin. Oh, it's not getting any kind of profits compared to Bitcoin. Oh, it's this terrible, horrible banker coin. It's a shill. It's a fraud. It's a scam. It's working with the banks. You can't trust the banks. Well, I do trust the banks to do one thing: to make money. And they seem to, Brian here seems to believe that blockchain technologies, meaning Ripple and XRP, that's going to make them money. It's going to make them money. You can bet it's going to make those of us who are in it right now money. You just got to be brave enough to buy, when the buying's good. And oh boy, is the buying good. We're down. A lot of people like to go on Black Friday shopping, right? 20% saving, 30% saving, 50% saving. Oh my God! Right? You save all this money on useless crap you're going to throw away in 3 months or that somebody's going to take back and return because they're not actually going to use the gift you got them because you didn't actually get somebody something they actually want because, well, the hell do I get somebody without asking them what they want and them knowing what they're going to get? Gift giving. Craziness. But sorry, I just that was unnecessary. But the idea is that, we have people in this space have this golden opportunity. Again, I'm not a financial investor, but there is this thing that it's not some useless thing you're going to play with for 2 months, get bored of, and throw away. This is an investment opportunity. So instead of you going to Black Friday shoppings where you're getting 20-30% discount on an object that's likely just been marked up in the previous 2 months on its value, so that when they put the discount value on it, you're actually paying the flat value of it a lot of times. In those regards, those things, why put your money on that 40, 50, 60% saving thing that's not going to ever make you money when you can buy something that's currently at a 90% discount from its previous high? You got a 90% discount right now to buy XRP from where it was 2 years ago. And we know, historically speaking, when you look at these trends, every year, on average, the value of these things 10x's. Now, it's slowed down since 2015, and it seems to 10x every 2 years, but still, it's been about 2 years now since 2017. Just saying. What's 10x $4? Is it 40 cents? I think that's the opposite direction, right? That's removing a decimal or a zero from your equation, not adding one. I don't know. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just sitting here listening to a lot of people that are technically financial advisors or employing financial advisors that they feel are trustworthy to advise you on your finances as to how they see fit to invest, how they see investing as a means to profit, however you choose to do, whenever you choose to enter. There are times to enter, there are times to take profit ultimately, right? All right, so let's wrap this up. We got about 3 minutes left here, so we'll listen through the rest of this and do closing notes.
Do we? Yes.
He's lost for the Q&A, I guess.
Sorry. We're gonna bring you a mic. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So, you're making some really, really big decisions that, arguably can impact trillions of dollars in value. When you're making those decisions, who do you consult with? Like, how do you know when to say, okay, yes, let's execute on this versus thinking it over and going through the mental models that you've built up?
Well, there are two different aspects. That number one is you rely on the team to make the decision because you're not close enough to it. You have intuition. I think I've run all the businesses at different times. You think you know them, but you don't, and they change dramatically. I had wealth management. I haven't, up until 2007 or something like that, has changed dramatically in the last 10, 12 years. So you have to let the team bring the decision to you, but you're making it based on trade-offs that no one else makes because you have to think about constituencies they may not think about it. So there's ways you can make money that we don't think are consistent with the way we run our company, the purpose of the company, and how we position ourselves. So my decision is more around that, and you let the process work to arrive at a decision. So the financial team's analyzing stuff, but it all has to make the hurdle rates just like anybody else. You have to have the returns, it has to make the hurdle rates. In financial services, you have to remember you have to start from the balance sheet and the capital requirements, not from the revenue, because that's the easy part when you take the risk we do. But we do it the same way you do it. It just happens to have potentially, I don't know what company you're with, I shouldn't presume that, but it happens to have a few extra zeros than typically companies we deal with, but it's the same set of principles. What's the return? What's the shareholder, what's the customer need? And what's the design of the product to meet the need, capability, whatever, and then what's the returns from that? And then can we get it done? And that's, when you're big, you also have to think about doability, because there's lots of things that sound interesting, but can you actually scale them across a platform? So Erica is very interesting, 7 million active users. We got to get across 20, 30 million active users. So you have to think about things that should scale and frankly can scale by their operational complexity.
Great. Brian, thank you so much for joining.
There you go. Ultimately, it's not about how much can you charge or are you charging somebody to make a profit. It's how much are you saving on the back end that enables you to make money on the margin between your charge rate and your back end savings. And why is this important that we even listen to that last little question before I wrapped it up? Because Ripple, just with Xcurrent, is saving financial institutions up to 60, if not more percent on each transaction. That's not even taking into account the fact that they're saving so much time with each of these transactions because it's faster than the SWIFT network, right? And it's more reliable. No failure rate. SWIFT, 6% failure rate. That's 6% versus a 0%. That equates to a monstrous sum of money. I don't even want to think about how much money they're throwing away to failure rates. I think Brad Garlinghouse is throwing it out there, and it's in the B's. You know, it's a big billion. It's a big billion. So it's really important to these financial institutions to find ways to turn that B, you know, as Brian said, drop a few zeros off, right? Turn that B into maybe 100 million, maybe, or maybe even 1 million, right? As far as cost to their business model. And as I just said, Xcurrent, that's only saving them 60%, which is half, right? So if they got $1 billion, it's costing them $1 billion to do their daily deed to transfer money, then it's going to cost them about $400 million to do the deed after transferring. That means they're saving $600 million per day or per whatever, you know, with this arbitrary number I'm giving you. Now, factor in if they switch from Xrapid or Xcurrent to Xrapid, right? Well, suddenly they're going from saving 60% to saving over 90%. So that 1 billion suddenly turns into maybe 100 million, maybe less, because in some cases that 99% isn't 9% savings, or 90% savings isn't just 90%, it's 99, right? So 100 billion turns into just 10, or 100 million turns into just 10 million. They're saving virtually $1 billion, right? They're saving $990 million by using Xrapid. This is why this is revolutionary. This is why financial institutions are moving over to it. And as Brian actually pointed out when he was talking about dropping zeros, it doesn't matter which model Bank of America is using or that other individual who was asking the question, his financial institution, whatever their money they're using, you know, just drop a few zeros, apply the same math, there's your savings, right? And typically speaking, the smaller a financial institution, the greater that savings is, because larger financial institutions are the ones that are charging those smaller institutions exorbitant rates that allows Ripple to come in and say, hey, by the way, if you jump on our network, we get to save you this silly amount of money because, you know, the JP Morgans of the world aren't going to be out there charging you an arm and a leg just to send money through their banks to reach constituents on the other side of the world, right? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the financial revolution. It's underway. It's been underway for a few years now, and I know a lot of people are getting impatient about XRP not moving up in value, but you have to understand, that's all part of the model. It's all part of the model. You know why? Because the average person out there is more interested in what they can get in like a week or two of gains, you know? That's why people come into my comment section and rage at me like, oh, you said that MoneyGram would cause XRP's price to double. It's been 24 hours since they announced it, and the price hasn't doubled. Well, no duh, it hasn't doubled, dummy. Do you see MoneyGram 100% live on Xrapid yet? No, you don't. Do you see Bank of America live on Xrapid yet? No, you don't. That's why you don't see a penny in fluctuation. There's so many people out here trying to go around and say that everybody's using XRP, the price is 0, there's no movement. Well, duh, because nobody's using XRP, they're using Xcurrent. It's purely a messaging platform. David Schwartz actually made a post, I don't know when, I just saw it, somebody else was talking about it earlier. I think it was on Sam IM, might have been somebody else. But somebody was talking about, reading over David Schwartz's post that was addressing the very fact that, even if Swift starts to integrate blockchain technologies and utilize it for them, they're a messaging service. They are not a liquidity solution. All that they do is say, hey, bank, this bank wants to send money to you. Alice, Bob wants to give you some money. Do you accept Alice's transfer? Bob's going to say, yeah, of course I accept the transfer. And Swift's gonna go, okay, Bob said that you can transfer that you're gonna transfer that money to him, so we'll acknowledge the transfer between you two so that it's so it's officiated, and then they're going to go through their liquidity source to have those funds transferred between each other, right? All that the Swift messaging system is really just an agreement that this transaction is going to occur, not that it's occurring in that moment. That's why David Schwartz was saying in his message that I'm referring to, he's like, hey, if Swift gets off their butts and does it, less work for us. We get to focus on our liquidity solution. And that's what all me and you are interested in anyways, right? So bring it on. Bring it on. Because nobody has a better solution than what Ripple's offering. Now, obviously we're at the end of the video, and I apologize for the dog going nutty in the background. One of the dogs is in heat, so the boy is just going nuts. So, anyways, I hope you've all enjoyed this deep dive where we dig into the CEO of Bank of America, Brian Moynihan's, probably butchering his last name, but we've dug into what Brian's views are on the current state of the financial ecosystem and how blockchain technologies are rapidly revolutionizing this ecosystem and are now saving financial institutions buco bucks, right? So, as always, if you enjoy my content, hit that like. If you're new, hit that subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell so you can stay up to date with all my latest content. As always, I've been Jade. You've been watching The Martian Report. I say as always a lot, and I cannot wait to see all of you, my XRP Martians, in my next video on Mars.